All right, let's talk about The Curse, starring Nathan Fielder, Emma Stone, and Benny Safdie. It was created by Fielder and Benny Safdie. So with the Safdie brothers kind of broken up, this is part of Benny's, still working with Nathan Fielder now. Really interesting show. So I'll give a quick spoiler-free synopsis and, talk about my thoughts there. But really what I want to do in this video is talk about, kind of give my analysis and talk about the ending, which, again, that's what everyone's talking about. Very controversial ending. But the show itself stars, again, Fielder and Stone as two kind of sort of these fake white liberal types that pretend like they want to help out, but don't really seem actually interested in helping out and seem more interested in progressing their own careers. They have a reality TV show that, is seemingly designed to, showcase how good people they are. And Benny Safdie is the producer who is usually trying to just, make the show kind of pump it up, make it more interesting, at least what he perceives to be more interesting throughout, even though Fielder and Stone's character don't seem overly into it throughout the show. And that's kind of where the show is. It's really entertaining. It's a lot of cringe humor and a lot of just suspense in moments that wouldn't usually be suspenseful, and stressful in moments that wouldn't be usually stressful. If you're a fan of a lot of the Safdie brothers' work, it definitely does feel like it's a combination of a Fielder show and a Safdie, movie, kind of those combined. This is kind of what comes out. I do highly recommend it, but let's talk about spoilers a little bit. Let's talk about the finale and what my interpretation is of it, because it's very polarizing. A lot of people were not crazy about the finale. I was going on Reddit. A lot of people were left feeling unsatisfied. So again, if you have not seen it and just know you're not going to see it but want to listen to a discussion, what happens is about 30 minutes left into the finale, all of a sudden, Astor, Nathan Fielder's character, wakes up on the ceiling. And at first you're wondering, for me watching it, I'm wondering, okay, is this some sort of weird, thing they're doing for the baby? Is this some, weird rich white people thing of let's have, the dad sleep on the ceiling or something like that? But you quickly realize, no, he just happens to be on the ceiling. They at first assume it's something to do with the house, and again, you're kind of inclined to believe it. That seems plausible. They even talked about kind of how weird this house is just a second ago, so maybe that is something. But as it goes along, you quickly realize he's the only thing up there. It is him that is somehow not getting shaped by gravity. Gravity has been reversed for him, and it leads to one of the most stressful 30 minutes of television I have ever seen. And to me, first things first, that's why I like this finale. Like, everything else aside, and there is a lot else that we'll talk about, I just thought that was an interesting situation, and sure, it is a bit of a jarring twist, but once you accept it, I thought it was incredibly stressful. It eventually leads to Fielder flying up into the sky and dying as Whitney gives birth to their son, and that's where the show ends. A lot of viewers are saying, wait, what? What just happened? And I can certainly understand why some people felt frustrated by it, especially if you're looking for more of a, things tied up into a bow. This show certainly does not give you that. Personally, I watch a decent amount of art house stuff. This is something I'm kind of used to seeing, and so it's not really as jarring for me. But if that's not something you specifically seek out, I can see it being jarring, especially when, listen, it's not like the Safdies have never dabbled in weird stuff like this. It's not like Fielder has never dabbled in weird stuff like this, but I think about Finding Frances, Nathan Fielder's series finale of Nathan For You, which is a hilarious show you should check out. But the finale was kind of basically a movie, which definitely dealt with kind of more fascinating topics, more so than just, hey, what if we just did something funny? Although that was still a very funny episode as well. But that episode, and again, I won't spoil that, but that did leave things kind of tied neatly into a bow. That wasn't just, they didn't leave you on a complete cliffhanger. There were some things that were left up to interpretation, but I feel like it did kind of give you closure in a lot of aspects. This show, on face value, did not, but I actually think more and more thinking about it, it kind of did in a lot of ways as well. To understand the ending of this show, you first have to understand what the show is actually about. And while there's several things that this show is about, feels like the main thing is what it actually means to help somebody. We even see in the finale, Whitney and Astor, they go up and they talk to Abshur, the man who they had been letting stay in one of their houses that they own for free. They give him a house, despite the fact that he clearly doesn't really want the house. And I think a lot of people were saying it's kind of ungrateful, right? Someone's giving you a house, like, this is a lot of money. I saw a lot of comments saying that. But the point is, it's irrelevant what he wants or not. The whole point of the show is that if you really want to help somebody, you shouldn't just do things to help them. You should ask them what they want and listen to them when they tell you what they want. At no point did they say, hey, what's the way we can help you? You know, they put a bunch of money into the house as a whole when, hey, a lot of people who are, you know, going through tough times would rather have that money in their pocket than have a nicer roof over their heads, right? Another example I think about with this is when Whitney finds out people are shoplifting and realizes that they're getting arrested for shoplifting. She says, hey, we don't need to arrest people for shoplifting. Just, you know, charge it. I'll pay for it, right? Her idea of trying to help, despite the fact that, you know, people are saying, no, don't do this. This is a bad idea. What ends up happening is people from other towns find out that they'll let you shoplift and come in and steal a bunch of clothes. So she attracts shoplifters in her way of trying to help. She does it in a way that ignores what people are actually asking for, and it goes horribly wrong. And the biggest example of this is in the final part, when Asher makes it very clear what his issue is. He has a very complicated problem. Gravity has been reversed for him. Nobody understands it, and nobody really believes that that is his problem. But that's what he's saying his problem is, and he made it very clear, and at one point even told the firefighter directly, this is what I need. I need you to do, you know, X, Y, and Z, and do that, and then I'll be okay. They, at no point, really listen to him, and honor of trying to help him, right? That's what they're, at the end of the day, what they're trying to do, get him out of the tree, which is to help him at the end of the day. They end up killing him by cutting the tree down and having him fly into the sky. There's a lot more else, I think, a lot of other details going on here. I think another aspect that the show had been trying to talk about throughout is reality television in general and what is or isn't real. This is something Fielder has been very interested in over the course of his career. The Finding Frances I brought up earlier does a great job of doing that. The entire rehearsal show is essentially about that, and there's definitely those themes in this one as well, including, you know, you have Benny Safdie's character here when Asher is upside down. First, there's the exploitation of it, of, hey, you know, a lot of times reality TV isn't actually trying to help people that are in tough areas. It's just trying to show it so they can get more successful. And that's what Safdie was doing throughout the course of the season, and also what his character did in the finale. Instead of listening to what Asher had to say, he went to film him, not helping out his, friend, guy he's friendly with at the very least. When Asher does fly away, you even have people looking up and saying, like, was that just for TV? Like, and then someone else said, yeah, I think it was just for TV. That's what they think is happening. They think it's just a TV situation here. So, what is or isn't real? And I think some of the parts early on that were kind of red herrings, I think that's also leading towards that general theme of, like, there was a moment when you saw that Whitney and another guy that she met at the Kara's party, they go into the bathroom for a second and then quickly leave. But, like, you could have edited it in a way to make it seem like she was cheating on Asher. And I think that while they didn't actually show that, to me, that scene that they did earlier in the episode, they didn't show it on the reality show in the world of the show is what I'm trying to say. But we saw that moment. We saw that it could be taken out of context. At least, some of us made, jump to that conclusion. And that, I think that was put in there deliberately to make you think, well, is that going to happen? And because of that, it kind of makes you think about other reality shows and about how really, if you get enough footage of a certain person, you can kind of paint whatever narrative you want about that person. Even Whitney herself, when she wanted to be honest to Asher and say she wasn't in love with him anymore, basically, she did it through reality television, through an edited show, instead of just telling him. Of course, all of that is fine. Thematic stuff, cool. I think some people are saying, listen, I get it. The thematic stuff, yeah, sure, I understand. I still felt like it came out of nowhere. Why did he end up flying up into the sky? Which is a fair question. I actually don't think it matters. I think that it's kind of irrelevant to everything else. This is not a plot-based show. This is very much a thematic show, and I don't think that you need to understand every aspect of it, but we still like to try and figure out ways. To me, I have two leading theories. What I thought of when I was watching the show was, did Benny Safdie's character when he cursed Ashtor, I believe it was in episode 8, he gave a curse to Ashtor. He said, like, I curse you. Is it possible? He said, I curse you to fly off the edge of the earth. And then that's what happened, right? Possibly that's something that I did think of. Another one I heard that also kind of makes sense to me, and there's one more thematic thing we have to talk about in just a second, but one more thing that, a theory I've heard that does make a lot of sense is, so he told Whitney in an earlier episode that the second you want me gone, you won't even have to say anything. I'll be gone. And it seemed like Whitney was pretty happy with the new baby when Ashtor was flying away. Now, did she, was she done with him already that morning? I don't know. But was it, once she had her son, she did not need Ashtor anymore? That's another theory I've heard is, she didn't need him anymore and he flew away. And if that is a theory, I actually think you could even go a little deeper. And this is maybe just me with my tinfoil hat on, but something I did think about is a lot of Jewish imagery throughout this show. And another thing Fielder has been often interested in talking about, we saw it with the rehearsal, is kind of religious extremism and how dangerous that can be. He even brought up the Nazis in this episode. That was a talking point with Mel Brooks's the producers and the what that meant with the Holocaust, which the producers isn't exactly about the Holocaust, but I guess I kind of understand. It's about Nazis, so in the same ballpark. But if we're talking about religious extremism, honestly, there's no better comparison I can think of in this show than Ashtor's, just affection to Whitney, who isn't a god, but he kind of treated her as such, right? He was completely unwilling to admit that there were faults in her. And in fact, when people brought up certain things about her, like there was that moment when people, in the car said, like, she's a bit much, and he, like, lost it on them. That does kind of remind you a bit of religious extremists who cannot absolutely handle any criticism about their own personal religion or their own personal God. And when when Ashtor's God says to him basically that, like, I'm not in love with you, with the whole reality show aspect of it, instead of saying, okay, well, let me move on, he goes even harder and says, I will give you my all. I will do whatever it takes to get your affection back, and does seem to, at least he believes, does that, until, of course, Whitney, when she no longer decides she needs him anymore, she has somebody else, she's done with him, and he simply just floats away. Also, the rebirth thing is definitely, to me, feels very real. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I've heard in some sort of, it's a Jewish thing where they say that you're not supposed to name someone after someone else who is still alive. And so it makes me wonder, like, is the new baby Ashtor now? Is that kind of something that would make sense to me? There was sort of an emblem that was supposed to signify rebirth earlier in the show. Also, Ashtor, when he's in the tree, legitimately says, like, worry about the baby in there, not the baby up here. He also referred to himself as a baby earlier in the show, so there does seem to be some of that. Not to mention the ending. I mean, it's legitimately just a straight up, like, it's the 2001 thing with the space baby and, Superman or whatever it is at the end of 2001. I guess spoilers for 2001, but I think we all know that shot where, Ashtor basically even mimicking the pose that the baby was doing as he is in space right there, which of course in that is supposed to sort of signify moving on to the next level. So there is something there. At the end of the day, I don't know exactly everything. I don't think this is all intended to fit in a perfect box. It's kind of one of those things where sometimes when you see this, you can kind of get mostly there with stuff, but then it still feels like, well, but what about this part exactly? And maybe after more thinking about it, I'll have conclusions for that as well. But at the end of the day, it's a show that really made me think a lot. And at the end, and that's kind of what I like, right? I talked about Beau is Afraid on this channel and my love for that. I made that my #1 movie of the year. So this is the kind of thing I'm into. This isn't going to be the kind of thing everyone's into. It just isn't, and I fully understand that. But at the very least, if you watched that and you decided to check out this video, well, there's a lot of shows out there that you would watch, but then have no interest in hearing anyone talk about anything else after that. So at least this show has done that. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fantastic. I don't know if I would say I still think the best thing Fielder has done is that Finding Frances thing for me personally. And I don't know if this is, for the Safdies, I don't know if this is better than, I certainly wouldn't say it's better than Uncut Gems, so I think they've both done better stuff. And I would recommend recommend if you enjoyed this show, definitely like check out Finding Francis. Nathan For You in general, just a hilarious show. If you like the humor in this show, definitely watch that if you haven't already. And I thought the rehearsal was very interesting as well. All of the Safdies' work. Really like Daddy Longlegs, underrated movie by them. So check that one out as well if you haven't already. So those are kind of some recommendations if you're into this kind of thing. I would also say even like something like, there's the movie The Trial, which is based on the Kafka book The Trial, directed by Orson Welles, the guy who made Citizen Kane. I felt a lot of kind of stylistic parallels there, so that's another, interesting. And it's just some David Lynchian stuff, like, Eraserhead. Definitely you can kind of see that with the final 30 minutes. I even thought about Von Trier's Melancholia a bit here. A lot of things you could look at as inspirations towards this, but nothing quite like this. I don't think I've ever seen something where 9.5 hours, it's one thing. The final 30 minutes, it's completely different and still worked on me. So, big fan of this. Those are all of my thoughts. Let me know, is there any theory you have that I didn't mention? Do you think I'm just an idiot who's rambling about nothing? Also, I'll be honest, you don't have to mention that in the comments if that's what you think. You can just leave, that's fine. Or you can be mean to me in the comments if you want. Either way, I appreciate all feedback, positive or negative, whatever you guys want to say. Would love to hear it. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from ya. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.